Okay, so I am now officially recording. You should see my face and Leah's face and hopefully nobody else's faces. And I am really grateful that everybody just has their first name on there too, because that is not an indicator of who people actually are. So the presentation today is called Resilience and Coping Skills. McKenny Soverall and myself, Sarah Hoagland, created it. And McKenny has the day off, a much deserved day off. So instead of us trying to reschedule this, because things are kind of complicated, we chose to go ahead and just have me present it, but we do have pictures. So on the right-hand side for this picture is a picture of McKenny and myself with Aaron Reeder, who was the gentleman who was the dean of our department who hired both of us. And he may not mean anything to you guys, but he was a wonderful asset to our team and he hired both of us. And so we have been leaving this picture in. So just a quick promo of the behavioral health team. So you guys may not know, but you have free and it's short term, so like 8 to 12 sessions, counseling on campus, and not even on campus. Like we can see you right now during the COVID pandemic. So what that means is if you're having some stress or you're having anxiety or you're having trouble dealing with being online or having trouble with everything else that's going on in the world, McKenny and I are free therapists that you can come see. And like we said, free and confidential. So what that means is that no matter what you tell us, we don't tell anybody else. So you can come and talk to us about whatever you want. We have a referral process and it's on our website. So it's just www.rtc.edu/behavioral health. Or if you ask Leah after this, I'm sure she can send you my email, or I'll send an email to Leah to forward to the class that just is a little brief introduction with our website and like our email addresses, because I think that might be easier. McKenny and I both have pets. We thought it would be important on something regarding resiliency to have pictures of our pets on here too. So that's why there's random cats and dogs on here. There actually are cats and dogs. Okay, so the presentation today is on resiliency and coping skills. So we're interested in what your definition of resiliency is. And I know that I have actually muted everybody, so you may not have a chance to say anything, but I would love it if you can, except if you're driving, please don't be typing if you're driving. But if in the chat, you wouldn't mind saying what your definition of resilience is, if you're comfortable on the chat, and just typing in what your definition is.
Do you want me to unmute them? Or if you prefer the chat?
Either way, if you guys are more comfortable talking about it, that's 100% fine. If you want to put it in the chat, that's 100% fine too. It's just up to you. And I think because I'm recording, Leah, do you mind looking at the chat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I just don't want it to show up on the screen. Or you guys, do you know how to use the like hand raising thing too? If you want to tell us, if you want to talk and you're not unmuted, then you can use the hand raising thing too. But I think everybody should be unmuted.
Oh, here, I didn't unmute them.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there we go. So it looks like, oh, why did it, all participants unmute? So looks like we have some definitions. So Lillian said to me, resilience is synonymous with perseverance and durability. Susan said someone who overcomes a situation with dedication.
Those are great answers, actually. And I would say actually pretty close. So the textbook definition is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. But I would say that's literally exactly what you guys said, just not in the textbook-y version, more of like in the real life version. So yes, resilience is our ability to like overcome something that's been going on. So since you guys defined it and kind of talked about what it means to you, can you think about a time when somebody in your life, or you don't have to self-disclose if it's you, but a time in your life when you or somebody you know showed resilience, or a time in your life, and be fair, like I feel like all of us are showing resilience by working or being in school right now. But maybe there's another time that you can think of, or a time in your life when somebody didn't show resilience, right? Like we all have that one person in our life and we're like, guys, you can do this. Like you can get over this. This is going to be okay. And it seems like it's the end of the world for them. So you can chat, you can talk about this however you guys want to share information. And there is no wrong answer, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. If you guys want to use the raise hand function, you just go, I think you just go to participants and should be a little icon for you to, I think, raise your hand.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Lillian has her hand raised. So here, you can unmute yourself, Lillian.
Okay, so hi, nice to meet you, Sarah. My name's
Lillian.
But to share a time when someone showed resilience, when my mom was 28, she was humongously pregnant, like 8 months pregnant. She had 3 herniated discs and was trying to go to school in the day.
Oh my gosh.
With 2 other children, and would go work from around 5 o'clock at night to about 2 in the morning at the Applebee's every night. Humongously pregnant at a closing shift as a waitress with 3 herniated discs.
So not just resilient, but sainted.
Literally, she tried so hard. No matter how hard things got, she always tried her best to kind of provide for us in the best manner she could. And that to me just shows a great amount of like strength and love and durability. And no matter like how bad it got for her, she was really resilient to whatever life had to like throw at her.
Very resilient, and like grit and toughness and perseverance, right? All of those kind of similar words that go with resilience. I say that that's a wonderful example of resilience. It kind of hits all the key points, right?
Yeah, and fun fact, 2 of those discs ended up rupturing.
Oh my gosh.
Just to add to the pot, man, it was crazy. Crazy times, but we're in a good place now and she's better, so.
Okay, I was like, I want to ask how she's doing, and also this isn't a therapy session, so I can't be like, how are you doing? How is that making you feel? How's your mom? Let's all chat. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your compassion. That's really nice. Thank you for letting me share. I appreciate it.
Of course. Does anybody else have a story of resilience? And here's the thing, it can be like somebody who showed amazing resilience, or it could be somebody where you're like, this person like needs to get it together. They showed no resilience at all.
You guys can use the raise hand function again so I can see, and I'll call on you.
Or if you can unmute yourself too, I think, right?
Yeah.
If you just choose to unmute, that's fine.
I'd like to share.
Yes,
Susan.
please.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Susan. It's really great to be here. I think my parents are the ones that showed real resilience when they decided to emigrate here from our country, not knowing where they're going to be placed. They just knew that they had to leave without knowing any of the language or anything like that. So it was like, I feel like they did a lot for our family, and now they had to raise 6 kids, like the oldest being 16 years old and then everyone else younger. So my parents, I feel like they showed the most resilience when they brought all of us over here.
That's amazing. That definitely showed grit, right?
I was reading something that research shows that people that immigrate here have a lot of resilience just to be able to push themselves, and it's really a strength to be able to survive.
Yeah, like my parents barely knew the language, and they just knew that like they had to leave for our safety.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to leave loved ones behind. Like they couldn't bring, their parents, their brothers, their sisters. Like no one could come with them. It's just basically them and their little family, and that's it. And they had to leave because, like I said, it was a matter of like life and death for them. So it's like, it's very important for them. And the fact that they decided to do that, knowing that they're going to be put somewhere where, and they're not going to be surrounded with familiar faces or language or anything like that. So to me, I'm like, that's pretty amazing that you were able to do that. Like, that's just inspiring.
Yeah.
That is definitely inspiring. That's amazing. I love that you guys are all taking the high road too, the positive road, and sharing the like positive, like people who've shown resilience. I know that for sure I've provided this presentation and people have taken it as the opportunity to be like, this person just could not get it together. So I appreciate you guys really taking the high road and sharing a lot of positive stories, because you're right, both of these stories so far have shown a lot of resilience. I'm gonna go to the next slide unless anybody else has anything else that they wanted to share. Okay, we'll go to the next one. So why do you guys think resiliency matters? Why do you think it's important? Why do you think that, people choosing to take a hard path and being resilient and working for these sorts of things is important?
Do we just start talking?
Yeah,
that's great.
This is okay. It's Natalie. I think resiliency matters because if you don't, like, if you get knocked down and you don't get back up, then you're just gonna stay there, and that you're gonna remain stagnant and complacent and not grow. It, like, in order for you to grow, it requires a lot of change, and so I feel like resiliency has a piece in you changing and growing, and that's why I think it matters.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I mean, that is a huge thing. I think somebody is raising their hand, and I think some things in the chat too. So whoever's hand is raised, feel free just to talk.
Lillian is raising her hand.
Okay, so yeah, it's me again, Lily. So kind of going off of what Natalie said, I think that, I mean, let alone just talking about it, it kind of puts yourself in your own perspective. And I think realizing what resiliency really matters, it has a lot to do with like humility as well, because you come to a lot of points in your life where you're like, I'm done, I'm so burnt out, I'm ready to throw in the towel. But it kind of takes me personally back to like my roots. My dad growing up would always say, like, do you want to be good or do you want to be great? And he really instilled that in my head. And so when I do come to like that turning point, you feel burnt out, like what it really means, or like why does it matter? Like Natalie said, it pushes you like in your own standpoint, in your own eyes, and it kind of gives you that, good or great, like I want to be great, like I got to keep going, like being able to push yourself, or even going beyond that, being able to like push others. What it means is to like see how far you can really go, like in broader terms, on like a broader spectrum.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. All right, I think we're going to go to the next one. Okay, so how does resiliency help? I think you guys have done a really great job in answering this, but if anybody has anything else they want to add, I'll give you guys a second to add it. So what do you think about resiliency that makes it helpful? How do you think that it helps with us being successful?
I think it builds character.
Yeah, for sure, right? Okay, I'll give you guys some of the information that we found too, McKinney and I. So these are research-based outcomes. So basically what it means is people have done a study and they reviewed people who had resiliency and how it helped them be successful in their life. And so one of those things is it helps people graduate from school, right? I'm sure all of you know and can tell that being resilient in school is super helpful, because we don't, like, I went to school, we've all been to school, Leah went to school, we do great on every paper, right? Like we don't do great on every test, but that doesn't mean that we're not successful at school. It just means as long as you have resilience, that this was not a great thing and that we can overcome it. It allows us to see bad times as temporary. So one of the weird things about life is that a lot of things are temporary and hopefully they will improve. I know a lot of things going on right now in the world that we're working on improving. And I'm hoping that things are going to continue to make changes. It helps prevent us from feeling like victims, right? So I don't know if you guys have any friends or loved ones who say like, oh, like I failed this test, I'm terrible at school, I must, this must be a bad choice for me, or something along those lines. It's not that it just means the resilience is low right now. And sometimes that happens, right? Like not all of us, our resilience is high all the time, but sometimes what happens is, we've done bad on a couple of tests, or we did bad in a couple different things in different areas of our life that day, and it just feels overwhelming, right? So remembering that things are temporary and that maybe this is just causal, right? So maybe I didn't study for this test and that's why I didn't do good on it, not because I need to drop out of school and this is a bad choice and I don't know what I'm doing. It helps us to manage pressure positively. Right now, and I know Leah just gave a presentation on stress, right? So there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of pressure that we're facing. Everybody learning how to go to school online, teachers learning how to fully teach online, that's a lot of pressure. And it goes back to us, the last one too, right, is remembering that things are temporary, and that just because a couple negative things have happened doesn't mean that everything's terrible. It improves life satisfaction, it increases our feelings of self-worth, and it leads to better health and well-being. And this really goes right along with managing stress and with managing anxiety. They're kind of all tied in, right? So you have less stress and less anxiety, and you're able to manage these things and have a positive mindset. It really changes the way your body's reacting to pressure. I would imagine, yeah, I don't know for sure, but I would imagine you showed the video about like how to make stress your friend.
Yeah. Yes.
The TED Talk. I love that video. So like going along with that, if you have resiliency, it really is, I think, a part 1A of making stress your friend, right? So understanding things are temporary, understanding that you can make a positive change, helping to manage positively, all of these things kind of go along with that. Also, if you're thinking about your stress management homework that you haven't done yet, these might be things you could put on some of that stress management homework. Okay, so next, is video. This is a really short video. I find it adorable. I think it's a Pixar short. You guys may have seen it before, but if you haven't, let's watch it. It's so cute. Oh,
do I need to do something with the sound?
I think so.
How do I do it?
Hang on one second. I think in the share part, and it might be me. So let me check and see. I think in the share part, I have to share sound. So give me 1 second to get back to where I'm supposed to be in the Zoom and the sharing. Share, and then let me try to more share computers down. There we go. Okay, so I think so.
Here's a story on how strange is life with its changes, and it happened not long ago. On a high mountain plain where the sagebrush arranges a playground south of the snow, lived a lamb with a coat of remarkable sheen. It would glint in the sunlight all sparkly and clean, such a source of great pride that it caused him to preen. And he'd break out in high step and dance. He would dance for his neighbors across the way. I must say that they found his dancing enhancing, for they'd also join in the play. Then one day, then a bounding up the slope came a great American jackalope. This sage of the sage, this rare hair of hope, caused to pause and check out the lamb. Hey kid, why the mope? Well, I used to be something all covered with fluff, and I'd dance in the sunlight and show off my stuff. Then they hauled me away in a manner quite rough and shared me and dumped me back here in the buff. And if that's not enough, now my friends all laugh at me, because they think I look ridiculous, funny, and pink. Pink? Pink? Well, what's wrong with pink? Seems you got a pink kink in your think. Doesn't matter what color, that gets nope. Be it pink, purple, or heliotrope. Now, sometimes you're up and sometimes you're down. When you find that you're down, well, just look around. You still got a body, good legs and fine feet. Get your head in the right place and hey, you're complete. Now, as for the dancing, you can do more. You can reach great heights. In fact, you can soar. You just get a leg up and you slap it on down, and you'll find you're up in what's called a bound. Bound, bound and rebound. Bound and you're up right next to the sky. And I think you can do it if you give it a try. First get a leg up, slap it on down. So every year, long about May, they'd load him up and they'd haul him away, and they'd shape him and dump him all naked and bare. He learned to live with it. He didn't care. He just bound, bound, bound and rebound. Now in this world of ups and downs, so nice to know there are jackalopes around.
Has anybody seen that video before? I personally find it very darling, but that is just my personal opinion. So that's a Pixar short, right, of what it looks like to have resiliency, right, to get back up and to rebound. So some people are, I would imagine, and this is me projecting, so maybe people aren't imagining this, but some people might be questioning, like, what if I don't have resiliency? Or what if, like, my sister or my best friend or somebody else isn't really showing resiliency right now? Like, how do I help? What can I do? And so we have a couple of ways that you can develop resilience. And I figured we would go ahead and talk about these. In class, we assign one of these to each person in class and then ask them to report out on it. But instead, since you know, Zoom is a little bit different than being in class, I figured if we just would all maybe provide, if you can just provide an example for like one or two of these, if you can think of it, that would be great. And then we can have kind of an open discussion about it. So here's 10 ways to develop resilience. And I'm sure there's a ton more, or maybe there's things that like fall into categories of this. But the first one is make connections and build your social support network. Now, I know right now that's kind of like a weird thing to say, right? Because we're trying to build a network while distancing from people and not being on campus, and not, maybe this is the first time you've taken a class, or this is the first time you've had class with people who are in this class with you. But I do think that with social media and kind of some of the things that we have an opportunity to build social support networks and make connections during this really kind of unique time that we're all facing. Have you guys been able to make connections or build your social support network? Do you have any suggestions or ideas for ways to do it? or ways that you've done it in the past that have been helpful. And again, feel free just to share. You can use the hand function, or you can say it in chat, however you guys are comfortable. Unless you're driving, if you're driving, please don't type in chat.
None of that.
None of that.
Lillian, she's very engaged today. Thank you, Lillian.
You're welcome. So maybe not myself personally. I mean, I've been pretty secluded as when it comes to just school, my home, and work. But I have found that like just kind of more or less being like friendly and like at work, I've made a couple friends just through like my coworkers, and that's cool and all. But I know my cousin Katie has started a pen pal group
Oh, that's cool.
with like little girls all over her campus and stuff. And on top of that, it actually had started with her grandma living in New York, and they live in California. So she started pen paling with her grandma to try and like make her feel better, because I know she used to do lots of letters back in the day, and Grandma Tony's not very tech savvy for like whole FaceTime and stuff. So it started with pen paling with her grandma, and she really liked it. So she decided to make a broader network, and she had an email sent out to like everyone in her division for her sorority and stuff like that. And they started pen paling, and now she's got people in like Zimbabwe that she talks to. I mean, literally like all over the world. So that's been pretty helpful for her.
That's cool.
Yeah, that is so cool and so fun. So do they do it like pen pal letters, or is it emails?
They actually do letters, and it's really funny
Wow.
because Katie is in a sorority. Everything has to be aesthetic and perfect. So, I mean, they really go the extra mile and buy all these craft supplies. And I mean, it'll take them like a week to finish a letter, and it's full of stickers and colors and markers. And they put little gifts that they make and like friendship bracelets. I mean, it's the real deal, like 10-fold version of a pen pal letter. Awesome.
That sounds so fun. And like, I know like nowadays, you know, we always get text messages and we get like social media messages or whatever, but getting a letter in the mail really still is like super exciting, right? Like that's not a bill, like something that's nice and fun.
Yeah,
You're like,
of
oh,
course.
somebody wrote me a letter.
Yeah, like that art and like kind of like the, I don't know, like I guess the tradition or like the real value of the communication has seemed to be really cut short, because now it is just more or less strictly, if you're quarantined, you're on Zoom or you're on like FaceTime messaging and stuff like that. But it really gave it like a personal touch, and I know she finds like a lot of meaning out of it, and it really gives her like a good point in the day to like look forward to, because it is so personal, and it has been made really like that big connection between all these people that she has never even met in person. So it's very contrary to the Zoom and the FaceTime.
Yeah. Well, and the effort it takes, right? Like somebody is using coping skills by you being creative and putting in that kind of effort, and it's a great distraction technique, and then mailing it, and then the joy you feel as a person that's, you know, making somebody else's day better too. Like those are some great stress management tips. Wink, wink. Anybody else have anything? And there's 10 of these, so if you don't have anything for this one,
So
don't feel stressed.
someone responded in the group chat. She said, I have a group chat with aunts and cousins and their kids, and we gather once a week over video sessions. Recently, we had a wedding over Snapchat. Oh, that's
Oh,
so
wow.
cool. Where we all danced and partied with them over video. That's fun.
I love that. That is really great. Yeah. And again, like I said, there's 10 of these. So if you don't have anything to contribute in this one, don't feel stressed. I imagine that you have something to contribute to one of these, because there's lots of different versions. So the second one is avoid to view crisis as insurmountable challenges. So basically what that means is understand that, you know, nothing lasts forever in a negative way. Like this too will be over. Yeah, this too shall pass. Thank you. I was like, there's a saying for that, isn't there? So the understanding that this isn't going to last forever, that this too shall pass. And basically what that means is, you know, knowing that, like, again, I'll take it back to school stuff, but like I've taken classes that I genuinely didn't like before. And I knew like if I could just get through those 12 weeks, that, and pass it, hopefully, that I'd be done with that class, you know, and I wouldn't have to deal with it anymore. Instead of being like, oh, this class is terrible, maybe this is the wrong degree, I don't know what I'm doing with my life, you know, having kind of that thing. Does anybody have any ways that they've done this, ways that somebody else has done this, thoughts about avoiding the tendency to view a crisis as an insurmountable challenge?
Lillian.
Okay, it's me again. Something kind of, I guess, kind of contrary. I don't know if this may be the correct example to share for maybe this slide, but I know that in therapy, a lot of the times when I feel hopeless, you know, and I could feel low on that resiliency scale, my therapist actually said, like, you know, you should just abandon hope. As terrible as that sounds, she was kind of right, though. Like, more or less trying to take terms into your own hands and kind of letting go things that you can't control can kind of more or less help you bring peace or feel less stress, because you can be hopeful that this will go away and that COVID will end, or that hopeful that I'll pass, like hopefully I can pass. Well, some things like the COVID, it's out of your control. So you can let that go and just find peace within yourself that whatever happens is going to happen. And I just need to take it one step at a time. And for things that are in your control, for this instance, like class and your grades, and hopefully I'll pass, well, you can't really ride on that hope factor. You have to see the obstacle as it is, which is this big hill that you're trying to climb, this school, that 12 weeks, you know, my testing and competencies, and it feels like a lot, but you actually have control over more or less that situation that surrounds you. So abandon hope and take it into your own hands. You're only going to get how much you're going to get out of it, and you're actually going to get as good of a grade as much work that you put into it, if that kind of makes sense.
Yes. So as a therapist, it sounds like your therapist is using what we call solution focused therapy, which is like, quit talking about it and make a plan. Let's figure out how we're going to do this together. Like, what do you need to do in order to pass this class? Like, I hope I pass this class, versus I know that I need to study an hour every night. So from 6 to 7 p.m. every night, I'm going to study.
Yeah, no, that's actually pretty right. I mean, you're a therapist yourself, so that's kind of awesome. I'm glad
I've heard of this technique before.
I mean,
No,
you have a good therapist.
Yeah,
I agree.
She's
she's pretty awesome. No, but that's exactly what you said, you know, like she actually we do these things where we write down priorities, because there can be a lot maybe that makes up this mountain of obstacles, and you can prioritize them, and which is the best, which is the worst, which is the least favorable. And it kind of goes with the whole, I say this saying a lot, are you feeling froggy? And that more or less kind of goes back to a quote from Mark Twain. And it kind of says, if you eat a frog the first thing in the morning, if you eat a literal frog the first thing you do in the morning, it will be the worst and absolute thing that you do all day, right? You eat this frog. So in a metaphorical stance, on your priorities list, what's the worst thing on your list? Your frog, maybe doing cardio, or doing this competency and getting out of the way. But if you do the highest thing on your list, that or most terrible thing is eating this frog, doing this test, it's gonna be the worst thing that happens to you. And anything you do after that will be lighter, will be better. I mean, you do the worst thing, and your whole day is now that much easier. You don't suffer from the anxiety of this frog. You don't suffer from the deadline of eating this frog. You know, like, eat the frog. Like, you can do it. Get through it and get over it.
Your therapist is great. I don't know who he or she is. I'm a fan.
Yeah, she's pretty awesome. But thank you for letting me share.
Of course. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so number 3 and 4 is accept that change is a natural and unavoidable part of life, even though many of us don't love change. And then I feel like this kind of goes along with what you were just saying, Lillian, is move towards your realistic goals, right? So make a realistic goal, and then set some goals that will help get you there. So in therapy, a lot of times what we say is, like, what's your goal? And let's say my goal is I want to go for, I don't know, whatever it is, but like,
a marathon. We'll just say run a marathon.
Perfect. I want a marathon. And so you don't say like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to start running like 16 miles. Like, that's just not a realistic goal, right? So like, you break it up to small, measurable, and achievable goals. So like, this week I want to get to running for 5 minutes straight. Next week, I'm hoping that I can run 6 minutes straight, right? And so it's moving towards that realistic goal. What about accepting that change is natural and unavoidable? How do you guys deal with that? Especially right now, right? Like, and also some things like not just being unavoidable, but being unknown. The funny thing with therapists and teachers is we are very comfortable with silence and we can just let it go. But I know that a lot of students are uncomfortable, so I'm gonna just wait and let you guys share something. All right. Maybe people aren't able to accept or are not comfortable with change, and that's okay. We can move on to the next one. I would like to see those, since I know that all of you have dealt with change, especially in school lately, right? Going all online schooling. Take decisive actions. Oh, sorry, did somebody say something?
Susan.
I was just gonna share that. Just don't share. I say that I've dealt with change. Like when I got married, I used to live in Virginia, so I had to come here to Washington State, which is fine. It's great, but it took a while to get used to Washington State. I'm like, oh my goodness, like what? This is a whole different world. I'm in a different country, not even a state. I'm in a different country, but eventually, it just took time. And like day by day, and then after having kids, you're like, okay, you know what, this is where my life is going to be, this is how it's going to be for me, so let me just move forward with the positive mindset, knowing that what, this isn't going to break me, this is just going to make me a better person, so let's just move forward.
That's like so many of the things already all wrapped into one story. Yes, exactly that. It is hard too. I don't know about everybody in here, but I know Washington is a very like transplant heavy state, and so a lot of us have moved here from other states. I moved to Washington when I was younger from California, and you're right, Washington is like a whole other world when you first move here. You're like, what is this place? I don't even know what's going on here, but it's nice. You're right. It's nice. It's whatever. But
yeah, you're like,
take some time.
Yeah, and I'm from Virginia, so it's like from Northern Virginia, and then like specifically in Kent, like it took me a while to get used to like where it was, like it's diversified, but not as much as like what I was used to in Virginia. And then it was like every time I'd see someone from that was Muslim or from a different country or something, I'm like, oh my God, there, oh look, it's right there. And my husband would be like, relax. There's lots of people, relax. I'm like, no, I feel out of place right now. But then, like I said, eventually, like now I can't imagine myself living anywhere else other than in Washington. I'm like, this is life for me. Like I can't go anywhere. This is it.
Well, and I think it's so normal to move somewhere and to like look for some comfort with like people of your own faith or people who maybe are also transplants. Like I 100% would say, before I lived in California, we lived in the Midwest, and most of my friends right now are people who have transplanted from the Midwest. So there's something about like that shared familiar culture, right? And like understanding and moving through a new place together. And so my friends right now who are from the Midwest, and they're like, hey, this blah blah blah, or is this a thing in Washington? And you're like, no, I know, I totally missed this restaurant or this thing or this grocery store or whatever,
Yep.
and it's nice to have that shared like common background where you can be like, oh, I lived in the Midwest, and we had this really weird thing. It was chocolate soda, and I know that sounds really disgusting, but it's one of those weird.
Sounds good to me.
Oh, it's so good. But like my friend was like, "Do they have chocolate soda?" I'm like, "No." And so it's one of those things where you can be like, "Oh, somebody finally remembers chocolate soda. I'm not the only person."
Yeah, it sounds really good. I'd like some of that.
Yeah, I mean, I am a big fan, but that's neither here nor there. So, okay, so thank you so much for sharing too. All right, take action that will help you face your challenges. I kind of feel like this was shared earlier when we were like, eat that frog, right? Get that thing first thing in the morning done and out of your way so you don't have to deal with it again. Does anybody have anything else that they wanted to share about take a decisive action? And it's no big deal if you don't. Okay. Look for opportunities that promote self-discovery. and this is a harder one, right? Like, especially when you're transitioning to some things, looking for opportunities that promote to self-discovery. But I would say a lot of this is, educating yourself on things maybe you're not familiar with, putting yourself in a place where you have the opportunity to learn or grow. And hi, we're all in school. We're doing that right now. We're looking for opportunities that promote self-discovery. We're learning about ourselves. We're learning about our learning styles. We're learning about what we want to do specifically in our future, right? So I know that you guys are all going for a specific degree, but within that degree, there's options and opportunities for kind of differences. And so part of this is, doing some of that self-discovery where you're identifying like what type of work you want to do, where you want to work, that sort of thing. Also, nurture a positive view of yourself and your abilities. So telling yourself you can't do things or that you're bad at things is not super helpful. And then keeping things in perspective and in context, right? Like, even if you didn't pass that test, it's not the end of the world. You probably won't fail the class just because you didn't pass one test, but I know we all have a tendency to say like, oh, I'm a failure, I can't do anything right, and all those sorts of things, which is kind of both of those put together. Does anybody have an example or anything they wanted to share about that?
You have a quiet group.
That's okay. That doesn't bother me. I feel like when things really like are speaking to people, they share, and that's fine, right? Like, share when it really is speaking to you.
Mm-hmm.
Maintain a hopeful outlook on life. Oh, I see somebody's hand raised.
Lillian.
Okay, so yeah, I guess just to touch on even like a couple of the past slides as well as number 9, a lot of it is like the ability to adapt, the adaptability of everything, even like from Susan moving from West Virginia to here, adapting from the COVID change to online school. A lot of the goals that you have can sometimes still stay the same, but it's your willingness to kind of adapt and being hopeful and finding things to actually implement your plans for change that are unbeknownst to you and are upcoming and furthermore changing. Being able to adapt to those things is kind of like a key standpoint to continue through any of these slides and continue maintaining a hopeful outlook on life and trying to more or less just be better and continue that self-growth towards your goals. As long as you can be adaptable and kind of have that versatility and maintaining that resilience, which is very important. We've talked about that a lot. That can also just, I don't know, I guess just a comment because it's been kind of quiet. So a lot of that adaptability standpoint is, I think, pretty crucial up to these past couple slides.
I would have to agree. Yeah. And I know that like saying like, and this is the thing that cracks me up the most, especially being a therapist, but like, well, you should just maintain a hopeful outlook on life, right? Like, that's not the super easiest thing to do. But I think because it's number 9, it's like, hey, if you can do all of these other things, then this will be much easier for you to do. And it's not saying you have to be like positive about everything. You can be realistic, but also to have some hope, to make some goals that allow you to like have hope and focus on future thinking positive events. Okay. And then lastly is take care of yourself. Right? So we can't be resilient if we are unable to take care of ourselves. And so this is promoting self-care. And promoting self-care is just remembering that it's okay to put other people first, especially as parents and, spouses or siblings or caretakers or whatever it is. But we have this, as a therapist, we have this old saying where we say like, in an airplane, in a case of emergency, they always tell you to put on your air mask first, because if you don't put yours on first, you can't put on anybody else's, right? Like, there's a possibility that you will pass out. And it's the same thing with self-care. You have to remember to take care of yourself, and not necessarily first, but also because if you're only focusing on everybody else's self-care, you wind up being burnt out and unable to take care of not just yourself, but anybody else. And as we know, a lot of people in this class are in this profession or in helping professions, and you want to help people. You got into this work in order to help people. But remember that you can't help others unless you've helped yourself. And I know we've all been in a place where we're running on like super low and we haven't been doing a lot of self-care and we're not giving our all, and then we get burnt out, right? And so it's really important for us to remember to take care of ourselves. Kind of a weird like part of this, instead of telling a story about like when we've been burnt out, can anybody tell me one or two things that they do, that they use for self-care that feels really good, or that they enjoy, or that they feel is helpful? And it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Yes, please.
Hi. Give me 1 second.
She's at a drive-through, it sounds like.
Hey, that's self-care, right? If you're at the drive-through getting coffee or breakfast, take care of yourself. I've clearly been drinking coffee this whole time. Don't not take care of yourself.
Anybody else while Natalie finishes her order? Lots of yoga, reading favorite books, someone said in the chat.
Oh, I like to sleep. I don't get enough sleep. So when I get the chance, I'm like, yeah, I'm sleeping in. Everyone enjoy their day. Mommy's gonna sleep. Have fun. Sleep is like, if you give me the gift of sleep, like I feel like you gave me the world. I'll be like, oh, thank you, God. But if not that, then my sister and I would like to do spa days together. So it's like she getting better, give her pedicures, manicures, whatever it is, like just enjoying a day with her. I feel like that's like the best, like I've achieved everything in life if I'm doing that.
Yeah. I also love music. I love music and dancing. That helps me. It's my jam.
Yes, it does. That's good therapy.
You're back, Natalie.
Yeah, sorry. So I would say that being a mom, it's very hard to take time for yourself because you're constantly pouring a lot of time to your kid. And so taking baths and music and going on walks really helps me like take care of myself. If I did not have that, I would be going crazy.
Well, maybe just giving yourself, like, even if it's like short, right, that like 5 or 10 minutes to like breathe and like recenter and, you know, like kind of focus on what's going on and get out of the moment, it can be so helpful.
Lillian?
Yeah.
I actually struggle with like this one a lot, like taking care of yourself and more or less actually like indulging in things that I like to do and just taking time for myself. I have a really big like family dynamic and a lot of things on my plate right now that are like going on that are, a lot of it is sometimes outside of my control, but as like being the oldest, I want to help and I want to help a lot of the other people around me and try and better the situation that we're all in. And I oftentimes feel guilty, especially when I do have a lot of other stuff on my plate, like school and work and things like that. Like I'll feel bad if I have a lot of stuff to do that day and I need to call out of work, but I'm putting all my coworkers through a loop, you know, and that means I'm also not making money. So it's probably not the best idea, but I'm so stressed and I've been working a 40-hour week and this is my 2 days straight with no day off. You know, like I find a lot of like anxiety and stuff like that and a lot of selfishness from it. But I do find, like she said, like a 5-10 minutes just for yourself. I feel guilty for doing it, but being able to put yourself like in your own perspective, like looking at yourself and like what you really need. I found that I really struggled with it until I actually started in those really small things and like seeing benefits from it. So yeah, like going through a Starbucks, being at home, going through being alone, especially you know, other people who are demanding from you or need something from you on a constant basis, being able to be alone and like, by yourself, I find that's really comforting and more or less it gives you the opportunity to actually breathe and to actually yourself. But I know I really struggled with that for a while because, like I said, it felt like I was just indulging and not taking care of my own responsibilities. But when you've been doing it for so long, it's really needed at times.
And I would agree. I think that's a really common thing that I hear, that people have a hard time, you know, remembering to not even put themselves first, put them like their top 10, right? And so one of the things we do is remind people that, you know, if they're unable to care for other people, you know, if they don't put themselves even in their top 10, then they're not going to be able to take care of people in the way that they're used to, or their stress is going to be bad, or their health is going to be bad. And so that's something that we commonly talk to people about like being able to set some appropriate boundaries and remembering to put yourself in your top 10. And then one of the other things too is like, and this is kind of a weird one, but it goes along with not just, you know, self-care, but also in general, like the way we talk to ourselves is, you know, if you have a daughter and your daughter said whatever it is that you're saying inside your head, or doing whatever action it is that's not helping you take care of yourself, what would you say to your daughter? What would you say to your best friend? What would you say to your mom? Would you be like, oh yeah, you were totally like the worst? Or would you be like, don't talk to yourself like that, you're great, like, and then list all these wonderful things? And so I think it goes along with, you know, setting boundaries and remembering that our internal self-talk is so important. And remembering that I'm not asking you to put yourself above everybody else. eventually I will ask people to do that, but not like the first time you talk. Just remember yourself and like, if you're top 10, move yourself your top 5, right? You only get this one body, only get this one life. And yes, you want to help everyone else because we're all caregivers, but also remember that you won't be around because of the stress and anxiety it's causing you if you don't remember to take care of yourself as well. And that's a hard one. Okay, so Leah, I don't know how long this session is allowed to go.
We can go till till 10:30. I don't want to keep them much longer after
Okay,
that.
no, that's perfect. So the only other things I have on here is a coping skills discussion, and then I have a video, but maybe I'll just email that to you and you can put it on Canvas or something.
That sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah. So how about we end with just talking about the coping skills we do have? I would love if everybody shared. You can either share by talking or you can share on the chat. And just tell us 1 or 2 things that you do that are coping skills, what coping skills you have that you think make you more resilient. And then maybe we'll leave this because this was a pretty long discussion last time we did this, like the difference between healthy and unhealthy coping skills.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll just touch on that at the end and then we'll be done. So if you guys just want to share something that you've done that you think is a good coping skill or something that you think has helped make you resilient, like a coping skill you use that makes you resilient.
Someone said in the chat, surrounding myself with family and friends.
Yes, that is very positive and helpful, I think. Especially if those family and friends are like supportive, right, and positive. I think if we have toxic family members, maybe the opposite of that is being able to set good boundaries for those people who maybe don't have our best intentions at heart. Anybody else?
For me, this is Natalie.
Hi, Natalie.
You said just 2 things?
Yeah, just 1 or 2 things, however, whatever you're comfortable sharing.
I just have a lot of different ways. It depends on what it is, really. But mainly, like, for me, it would be praying and working out. That's what's really, like, helped me cope mechanism for me.
And I think, this is really individual, right? So I think that those are 2 wonderful things to use. And maybe those aren't the ones that everybody uses, and that's totally fine, right? Coping skills are very personal, and I think you're right though too, it really depends on like what's going on for what coping skill I'm going to try to use.
Someone said being creative in the chat is another coping skill.
Like arts and crafts and
Yeah.
Oh, yes, right. I'm a big fan too.
Someone said meditate every morning for 20 minutes and surround myself with family.
Meditation is such a great coping skill. Meditation is proved to change the way your mind is wired in order to allow you to like process and be more resilient. And so there's this other weird thing that we use in therapy where it's we talk about like your glass being full. So everybody has a level of anxiety that we can get to, and so we talk about like if you have a glass of water, right? Let's say we all have a glass of water, and my glass of water is half full today because I'm not anxious about giving presentations. Let's pretend like I am. So my glass is half full because I have to give a presentation. I'm super anxious about it. And then my glass is full because maybe I'm in school and I have a test later. And then, so that's my glass is then all the way full, right? Because those are the 2 things that I can cope with. And then if you add anything else to it, then your glass will overflow because you're so stressed out. And so one of the ways that we encourage people to largen their glass, I think I'm saying that wrong, to make their glass bigger, or to remove some of the stress from the other things that they're doing is to meditate, because it helps to kind of calm their mind and allow them to focus. And so then maybe you can handle a couple more things.
That's good.
And then I'll just say, if nobody else wants to share, difference between healthy and unhealthy coping skills really are how they affect you and your body. So like a healthy coping skill would be yoga, meditation, praying, surrounding yourself by healthy people. And an unhealthy coping skill would be like surrounding yourself with toxic people who aren't healthy for you, the inability to set a boundary, right? Like saying yes to everyone and then being resentful or angry about it. Or maybe like unhealthy eating styles, those sorts of things. I'm not talking about like giving into a treat and having like a bowl of ice cream or something like that. I'm talking about like eating an entire carton of ice cream sort of thing.
Mhm.
And so that's pretty much everything for today. There's a couple more things, but I'll share it with Leah and let her put it on the like on Canvas or wherever you guys are. I just want to do one more shout out. So if you guys feel like you're having stress or having trouble with anxiety or coping skills or setting boundaries or self-care, we free and confidential therapists. We literally will meet with you via Zoom pretty much anytime. McKenny and myself, we're the two pictured, we're the two that aren't animals. We're the two that are cats or dogs. And I will, when I send this presentation to Leah, I'll make sure to send our contact information. And you can say like, hey, I'd really like to talk to McKenny. Hey, I'd really like to talk to Sarah. We don't care. You could email me and be like, hey, you look great. And also we talked to you. And also I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to McKenny. Fabulous. We will schedule you an appointment for whichever one you're interested in talking to. But free and confidential. So if you're just like, man, this is a really stressful time, just come talk to us. It's literally our job. We'll help you like work out some stuff, or we'll just listen. If you're like, hey, I don't want you to tell me what to do at all. I just really want an opportunity to vent. Great. Come do that with us. That's all.
Yes. Love. All right. Any other final thoughts or questions before we end the session? No. Thank you so much, Sarah, for coming to talk.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'm